Hello and welcome. My name is Blanca Vergara from Parenting the Gods. Today we have a new guest speaker. Her name is Renee Veldman Tentori. She is very inspiring because she is the founder of a movement of parents. And the name of this network is the Professional Parents Network. I'm absolutely delighted to have you here, Renee. Thank you for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
So, Renee, we are going to talk about parenting and motherhood specifically. Bring us in the genesis of your story. How did you become a mother, and how your life has started to change from there?
Certainly. Well, my eldest daughter, Sophia, she's now 6.5. And when I fell pregnant with her, I was actually living in the Netherlands. And if you're good at spotting accents, you might figure this isn't a Dutch accent. I'm from Australia. And I've married a Dutch man, and I was living in a country that was far from my own. And even that in itself, the very first thing I found I needed was a network to support me. And I was involved with helping set up a network here called Delft Mama. And I was on the board to help get that started and bringing together international mothers. When Sophia was 5 months old, we moved to Australia and settled there. And my second daughter, Isabella, was born almost exactly 2 years later, almost to the day. And she's now 4.5. In the meantime, 18 months ago, we've moved back to the Netherlands again. So I'm a Dutch Australian. I have dual nationality, and again, I've started a community called Dutch Australian. But it's professional parents that I'd really love to talk about today, and the parenting side. And there's a lot I can go into. I don't know how much depth you want me to go into now. I'll let you ask me some questions. But your life just changes phenomenally. I mean, any parent will know that listening to this, that as soon as you have children, even from falling pregnant, I found that my entire life changed. A lot for the better. You do get the things that are all wonderful and amazing that you see in the movies, but there's also another side where it just incredibly disrupts your life and your career, and you even feel bad for feeling that, but it's a lot to try and juggle and bring together. So yeah, that's a very brief background.
What was your career before you got pregnant the first time?
Well, I'd already had a few changes because I started in the travel and tourism industry, actually, in Australia. After I left school, I knew that all I wanted to do was travel the world, and I thought the best way to do that was join the travel industry. So I worked as a travel agent and kind of built my career there. And then I came to the UK, as a lot of young Australians do, to work there. And that was in 2001. And with everything happening in America and the World Trade Center attacks, the whole industry just collapsed that year. So I found that I already needed something new. I know a lot of parents don't find that disruption to their career until the kids came along. I kind of had it before the kids. So I was already busy looking at new things. And I went into marketing and also moving from Australia to the UK and then to the Netherlands. I found it difficult to find work. So I learnt the Dutch language. I just took whatever work I could find as a PA. But my real passion and my study was in marketing and tourism.
And from that professional journey of inventing and reinventing yourself with traveling and with the challenges of the industries where you were, what were the changes inside when you became pregnant? Because you had a daughter, so I don't know how much it touched you, the fact that you were pregnant of another woman.
Yeah, well, I didn't know she was a girl. But just the fact of being pregnant, even wanting to fall pregnant, when my husband and I made the decision, right now it's good to have children. We were nervous. There's a lot of first-time parents, but we felt that it was a good time. And even then it came as a bit of surprise. I kind of thought, okay, we want to be pregnant. When's the baby coming? But there is a process. I even went to my Dutch doctor and I said, right, I want to know what to do. And he said, well, it's pretty obvious. You go home. I'm like, no, not that bit. I know that bit. But I really wanted to prepare myself. I wanted to be healthy physically and mentally. I really wanted to give this child that I didn't even know yet a wonderful start. And I took it very seriously. I actually think, in retrospect, too seriously. I read all the books and I took the folic acid and, really looked after myself. The poor second child, it's a little bit more like, oh, yeah, all right. A toddler to look after. But yeah, it did change me a lot. And even with my career, I'd been looking for work, but I knew that I wanted a baby. And I really struggled with that, knowing when I was going for interviews that there's a good chance that I might have to leave or I might have to change my career because I'd have a child coming. But I've got lots of stories to tell. I don't know how much time we've got. But again, I just took it all too seriously. I look back and think, well, I didn't need to worry so much about all of that. It kind of all falls into place.
What kind of worries did you have that now you think I shouldn't have had?
Well, firstly, I was worried for my employer. I was thinking, oh, I've got morning sickness. I'm tired all the time. And I actually ended up resigning. It was a short-term contract. And I thought, oh, I'm just not reliable enough. And in the end, the two people that replaced me both quit for completely different reasons and weren't reliable for totally different reasons. And in fact, I was more reliable. So that was one thing. It had nothing to do with me becoming a mother or being pregnant. Secondly, I read too many books that were too contradictory. And I'm sure most parents will know what I'm talking about here. One says you absolutely cannot do this, and the other says you absolutely can, and it's just really confusing. And then the thing that really got me is that people would say, listen to your instincts, and I'd be like, but I don't know what they are. And I felt bad because I didn't know what my instincts were, and it was just a really confusing time. I look at first-time mothers now, and I think it's something you have to figure out for yourself. But one piece of advice I would give to new parents is don't worry so much. It's easy to say when you're through it, but I just worried too much about too many things, exactly what I ate, exactly what I did, that I was tired, that I wasn't exercising enough. And they're definitely good things to think about and look after yourself and your baby, but not to the extreme where you worry, you're too worried.
Yeah, without that feeling, to do all that without the feeling of worry.
Mm-hmm.
And and now after the well, now your children are 4 and 6, so maybe when they were just born or now, depends how much you have changed. What are the things that you have learned from, let's say, before and after your children? How are you different now?
There are so many lessons. It's so true. They teach you every single day. Sometimes they teach you things that you're not sure that you want to learn, or you just don't get the message. My girls are at a stage at the moment where they're both at school. My youngest has started school here in the Netherlands. They start quite young. In Australia, she wouldn't have been going yet. They fight a lot, and I'm quite stunned. I look at them fighting and I think, why? It seems so natural for children to fight, and I can't figure out why. I think it's a learning process, and I see how different their personalities are, and that changes me because I have to parent both of them totally differently. What works with one, and I see connecting with one child, doesn't connect with the other. And the other thing that changed me dramatically was I'm never been somebody that enjoys conflict or wanted to stand up for myself all that much. I didn't have very strong convictions about things. But with children, especially toddlers, oh my goodness, you have to learn how to negotiate, and you have to learn how to be a strong leader, I think. So they've taught me a lot about leadership and trying to lead in a way that I want them to learn. Like, it's very natural for me and a lot of parents, I think, to shout and smack. And there's big discussions about it, and even admitting that you may do that is a difficult thing. But you don't always know what to do. So being a parent, it doesn't mean that you know what you're supposed to do. You just learn constantly.
Yeah. And In the first point that you mentioned, so you have two children,
Mm-hmm.
and you have parenting or mothering them differently.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely.
can you give us more detail in which way is
Certainly.
different?
My eldest, she looks like me, and it seems she thinks a lot like me. So from when she was tiny, when they first show that personality, I could connect quite easily with her. She and I just seem to be on the same wavelength. We're very compassionate, and we think a lot about other people. She's a bit of a networker. she just is similar. I haven't even really identified in exactly which ways. Whereas my youngest, also a girl, but she looks a lot like my husband did when he was a baby, which is quite bizarre being opposite genders. But she's got the, very blue eyes that he does and the blonde hair. And interestingly enough, from a young age, she likes, he's an engineer, and she thinks, I can tell, like she's built stuff, and she's very precise. Like I'll say, put your plate on the sink, mama. It's not a plate, it's a bowl. So it just, everything has to be precise with her. And I've found that looking to my husband and the way that he thinks is easier when I'm trying to parent her. So, for example, he actually figured this out and told me that if she's doing an activity, my eldest, I can say, okay, we're done, let's go, let's do something else. And she's quite, one thing to the other. Whereas Isabella, she needs a 5-minute warning. Okay, we're finishing this in 5 minutes, then you're going to need to pack up. And if I try and do to her what I do to my eldest, it's screaming and shouting and kicking and simple things. The way that I talk to them is different. I think the age, of course, is also different. But what's interesting is there's 2 years between them. But because the little one, we try to try to not do this, but call them little one and big one. It just it just fell into that. Little one, she kind of gets a lot earlier, gets to do things a lot earlier because she's got a bigger sister. So yeah, so it's a totally different ball game. Firstly, having 2 kids, and firstly having kids that are 2 different personalities.
Yeah, it sounds to me like now you have this refined sense of reality. For this works this, for this works that, and I have to tune myself to what it is.
Yeah.
And the second subject that you mentioned was leadership. And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is so huge when you become a mom. You're a leader, and you're a leader of people who don't take lies for not calling them in another way, because children are really perceptive and to really
Yes.
follow what mama says. How do you
Yes.
experience that? And I can imagine that maybe it's more challenging for the second one.
Yes. Well, I've always lived my life that you do what you say. So that's already helped with children because they will call you on it. But mama, you said this and you said that. And I've always done that before kids came along, and I'm pleased that that's a quality that I can apply with children, and I think is good as a leader. I think as a leader, there's so many different skills that you can practice with your kids that are handy in real life. For example, like I was saying, different personalities. Everyone you deal with in life has a different personality. So how to not just get them to do what you want them to do, but bring the best out of them. They are like your website says, they're amazing, divine beings. And how do you allow them to grow without kind of pushing them into the exact area that you want them to do, but at the same time they have to do what they're told. I'm quite strict with that. They're not allowed to just do whatever they want. I don't think that's best for them.
Yeah. This is magical, to allow them to grow, but at the same time to give them clear, defined objectives.
Mm-hmm.
And an insight, because this is kind of outside and a lot to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself that inside you are capable to have other thoughts or ways of seeing life. Um, but it's very interesting because your journey is also of traveling, so it's hard to divide it with the girls.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That that has changed you. That you approach people in a different way since you were since they are in your life.
Yeah. Well, I think, career-wise, to take it to the professional side, you're right. There's been a combined, I guess, set of challenges with moving between countries as well as becoming a mother. So that's extra difficult to both deal with and to tackle, I suppose. I think myself, I've grown hugely. I think I've gone extremely low because it's hard. Like, it's hard. Being a parent is hard. Moving countries is hard, and sometimes you don't want it to be, but it is. So you've just got to get through it sometimes. And I've had a lot of help from friends around me, and I have very, very consciously pushed myself always to build a support network around myself. And that's exactly what I did with professional parents in Australia when I was living there. And I very consciously did when I moved back to the Netherlands. I very clearly reflected on how I was feeling and what I needed. And even though it was difficult to push myself to get out there and meet new people and talk to new people and stand up and talk about what's happening in your world, that can sometimes be a bit personal, and even to say I'm struggling is hard. But people identify with it, and then you find that you help them. And then there's the talk of the downward spiral, which I have most certainly experienced. A lot of people don't always know that. I get told regularly, oh, you're so positive, and I work in social media. I have a social media business. So online, I look great. I've got beautiful photos and my kids look awesome. And, behind the scenes, sometimes internally, you can just be thinking, I'm not coping. I'm struggling. How am I? My 3-year-old particularly had a big trouble with the move. She's now 4.5, but it was a big deal because she liked structure and routine. And when we moved from one country to another, she just, acted out tantrums, and issues with toilet training went backwards. And, that was a big thing. So internally, I'm trying to be strong, but I wasn't always. Now I feel a lot better, but that's because I've gone and found a network. I've asked for help from other people. Just like this discussion now, I try to share as much as I can, and I ask for help from other people.
But this is so huge. I see so many mothers that that cannot do that. Asking for help is so crucial, because in your case, it's a combination of parenting. Parenting by itself is a challenge, and then moving countries. You've done that several times. Tell us more about professional parents. How do they help each other, and what are the main issues that you have found with them?
Sure. Well, when I first became a mother, it coincided with I was studying a degree, a Bachelor of Business in Marketing and Tourism, and I needed to write a final year marketing assignment on a new product or service. And at the time, I used to love networking events. The business networking events where you go and, have a glass of wine, you have your business cards, and you meet new people, and you try and figure out, how you can work together or get new clients. And I was really missing that because I enjoyed it. But when I had a small baby at home that I was breastfeeding and that needed me around all the time, I'd try to go out and I'd have my husband on the phone going, she's crying. And what do I do? And he got better with it as well. But I think tiny babies really need their mum there. If you've got a good support network and you work it out, you can, still manage that. But I started thinking, well, surely there's a way I can combine this all. I tried going to play groups and having my family time and my business time very separate, and it just wasn't working, especially when the kids were really tiny. And then I thought, well, why can't I do it together? So I came up with the name Professional Parents to represent the two sides of the professional side of me and the parent side of me. And a lot of people use the term mumpreneur, but I've never been a big fan of that. It just didn't talk to me. And I also felt that forming a network just of mums was quite exclusive. The dads are a big part of it. They might not want to come to meetings and might not be as involved with the network online. It is a majority of mums. But I actively wanted the dads be part of it. And when you open the conversation with dads in a business setting, you have to be careful about, you can't waltz into a big professional meeting and kind of get everybody talking about their kids. It might just not be the right setting. But talking to dads about their children is also something that's a common ground. So, yeah, I basically tried to bring the two together, and I started networking groups in Australia, and Professional Parents has always had an online and an offline, like face-to-face component. So online, I started bringing together resources. I just started trying to have the conversation that, do you work and have children? And how old are your children? And do you drop them at daycare? So I've tried to do that and bring people together to have the conversation. I've started a Facebook page, which has got over 2,000 followers, just Facebook Professional Parents. And then I started realizing people needed to support each other and train each other. So we did social media classes, which is my strength. I got other people who knew about things like building a website or a lawyer, or who were all parents but all had skills to share. So it was bringing those people together in a network, sharing skills, and just the conversation, the fact that this is what we're doing. You can combine children and career, or business and babies.
Business and babies, that's beautiful. And was there a subject that just kept coming up with these people? And maybe it's a subject that surely you and I share, and the audience?
Yes. Well, what I found, the common thread to everything is balance. So it didn't matter whether parents had newborns, were pregnant, had toddlers, children, even teenagers, and I had grandmothers coming along to some of my workshops and visiting my website. So it didn't matter what age you or your children were, and it didn't matter what career you were in, whether you were running a business or working part-time or working full-time. The thing that kept coming up is everybody wanted balance. Now, balance doesn't necessarily mean I spend 50% of my time with my kids and 50% of my time with my career. And balance for everybody is totally different, and it changes. So now that my children are at school, today I've been out talking to people. I'm looking for more hours, to work more hours, because I'm out of balance at the moment. I'm not doing enough work. So I think, that it's both the secret, but it's very obvious, is everybody needs balance.
And what I also find interesting in your comment is that everybody needs to be aware that Renee is talking about worldwide experience with parents. So it's not about the Netherlands or Australia, but and many other countries. The subject is exactly the same. Yes. And it is subjective, it's personal.
Yes, definitely. And it's not something, it's kind of like riding a bike. It's I made that connection here in the Netherlands, because you ride a bike just about everywhere. And it's like when you're riding a bike, it's very wobbly and you're not quite sure what you're supposed to do. And I did fall off several times. And once I felt terrible with my daughter on the back in the baby seat. I felt terrible, but she had a helmet on, and she actually said, she was 3 at the time, "Are you okay, Mama?" We're all good. But once you get going and you find your balance, you won't always necessarily keep it, especially if obstacles get thrown in your path. But once you're going and you know what it is that you have to do, it gets easier. So it is achievable. I have aimed to be a spokesperson and an advocate on family business balance for several years now, and that doesn't mean that I've got it all sorted and that I can say, "Look, Blanca, this is exactly what you have to do." But I have very consciously been alert to, how does it feel when I'm in balance? What is it that I'm doing that works? And when I'm out of balance and, that crazy, stressful times, what is it that I'm doing that's not working? And then, of course, you do more of what works and less of what doesn't work.
I don't know. The more I talk to you, it comes the subject in my mind, almost like a musician, to be in the right tune and find exactly the tiny difference. Like first, when you were talking about your daughters and see how one is raised and then the other, how you lead them. And now the balance. So it's very artistic to be a mom.
Yeah. definitely. It's not something that you just, but that's what keeps it exciting too. I remember when the girls were tiny, and when they're a newborn, everything's so hard at first. Then you think, hang on, this is getting easier. I kind of know what I'm doing. And then they're a toddler, and then you're like, oh, I've got this sorted. I'm having hard times, but I kind of know how to handle it. And then they go to school, and I've heard, I'm not there yet, but teenagers are another whole story. So I've got that to look forward to. But I mean, it's like anything in life. If you're not constantly learning and getting challenges, so I think that's what children teach us, as does your career. I mean, I don't know many people, especially in this day and age, whether you're artistic or not, that would be happy in one specific tiny job for the rest of their life. You need to grow and create and develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in your long journey as a mother,
2.5 years plus the pregnancy.
So being a very, very young mother, what do you think is the most exciting, exhilarating thing that you've learned from them?
It sounds really corny, but the love. I mean, you love them no matter what. And I say that to them. Even when mama's cranky, they can repeat it off now. Even when mama's cranky, and they say, we love each other. So I think just that love, that I'm part of a family, I'm part of a team. I physically actually helped build that team, and we're a family. I do anything for them, and I'm sure that I'm not always their favourite person when I'm telling them to do things they don't really want to do, but they love me. I know that, and I love them, and it's amazing. It's not easy, but it's amazing.
They're very transformational.
Definitely. And it's the whole dynamics with my husband as well. Like, he parents differently than I do. And when they're with him, they act one way. When they're with me, they act another way. When we're together as four, we act differently. It's just all these relationships going on. But as a parent, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing else in the human experience that compares, I think. It's really unique, and it's a privilege. It's a real privilege.
Do you think that your relationship has also changed because of that? Has he also experienced growth as a person?
Me, myself, or with
your
my
husband?
Yeah, definitely. We've had to find our feet. It's very different. It's again, like everything, it's not really easy, and we've had to. It really makes you. It forces you to figure out what's important to you, and build on that, because you cannot do everything. You just simply can't. When I was younger, I still have an element of it. Oh, there's so much I want to do, and anyone that knows me will say that. But as you become a family and a parent, and you've got really limited time. So my husband and I have allocated date night now. On Wednesday night, we watch a movie together, or we do something specifically that's just us. And it's just different.
So with as a matter of we could be talking here forever, but trying to wrap up the conversation, what will be your what is missing that our audience will listen from us? How can we? What would you like to tell them?
Well, I think with the Professional Parents Network that I've built, I've consciously built that to help support people and make it a community. So if you're there thinking, I'd like to tap into other people that are balancing business and family, please don't be shy. Come and talk to us. And the more people that share experiences, I think together we all learn from each other. So I've tried to share a little bit today. Because my children are at school, I haven't had mama every few seconds, but I'm going to go and pick them up soon. So my appeal, I guess, to anyone listening is please share your story. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter whether you think what you have to say is of interest to other people. It is of interest to somebody. And I'm a definite sharer. I'm extremely active on social media, and I'd love you to come and say hello on Twitter or Facebook or whichever social media. But just reach out to other people, share your story. and like you're doing now, you're interviewing me and other people, and just listen to other people's stories and share your own. And together we'll just learn from each other and continue to grow.
Oh, beautiful. You are not alone. You are not alone. Wherever you are, and I love how you said it, Renee. It doesn't matter if you are in the stage of wanting to conceive, being pregnant, having teenagers, newborn baby. There are many, many challenges that are exactly the same, and
Yes.
the love is shared. So feel free to contact Renee and her movement. It's a really delightful community. And on this tone, I would like to thank you, Renee, for
You're
being
welcome.
here
Thanks
with
for having
us.
me and giving me the time and space to think about some things and share. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much also for the viewers of Parenting the Gods. And I would like to invite you, of course, to subscribe here to our YouTube channel, and of course to receive our newsletter via our website, parentingthegods.com. And there you will get to get updates on these interviews, and of course on our events, and more information, and more both science and experience. So this is Parenting the Gods, healing the world through parenting.